Good evening, everybody. It's your girl, Miss Ehi, coming live from Mobile, Alabama. Super duper excited as usual because once again, we got Black excellence in the building. Tonight, we're going to be talking to you. I think the topic is called Let's Be Real Estate because we have a room full of real estate agents who did not turn their phones on silent
Yeah,
like
sorry.
I asked them to before we started, but I digress. Before we get started, I'll go ahead and give our medical disclaimer. Neither myself, Patricia Reed, aka Ija de Jimenez, Journey with Trish, Health Assistant Out, Chrissy Productions, or any other affiliates are giving any type of medical advice tonight. I am not your medical provider tonight. So if you're having any type of emergency, whether it be psychiatric or medical, I would direct you to your nearest emergency room, call your primary care provider or 911. So let's wait a minute. Forgot to tell you tonight's episode is brought to you by Olivia B. Brianna Scott of Olivia B's Makeup Artistry, Olivia B's Beauty Bar. Brianna is going to be sponsoring three makeup sessions with her if you are attending the Health Assistant Out Tea Turn Derby Women's Fashion Show. It's a long title. Anyway, Health Assistant Out Women's Derby Tea and Fashion Show, June 17th at Daphne Civic Center. And Bree has been gracious enough. She's going to be sponsoring three. So make sure you are on this live tonight so you can win one of those makeup sessions. We also had a couple sponsors who have donated some tickets. So we're going to be giving away some tickets tonight. So make sure you like, follow, comment, and share tonight. This is where you want to be. I'm going to go ahead and get started right here to my left. Who do we have here?
It's Evelyn Hall with Water's Edge Realty.
Stacy Gibbs with Carol Williams, Alabama Gulf Coast.
And O'Hara Murray.
Winfred McGaster with Exit Realty Gulf Shores.
And Evelyn, I believe you guys have your own your own disclaimer of your own.
Winfred, Stacy, and I would like to let everyone know that we are service providers with Ballroom Realtors, but we are not speaking on behalf of Ballroom Realtors tonight. We are speaking on our own experiences in the industry and probably as consumers as well. So we not your realtor tonight, but we could be your realtor in the morning if you want to call.
Okay.
But you guys are going to give a plethora of information that we think will be helpful tonight. So if you have somebody who is looking to buy or sell residential, or some of you do commercial property?
Yes.
Yeah, residential or commercial property. This is where you kind of want to be. I know that both you guys service Baldwin County.
Mm-hmm.
And Stacey, you also Mobile County as well?
Service Baldwin County and Mobile.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so look, there you go. We have representation in the building tonight. So this is where everybody needs to be. So go ahead and like, comment, follow, and share so we can get all of your real estate questions answered. So the main reason that I called everybody to the table tonight, and thank you guys so much for agreeing, was when you posted somebody posted a flyer. You guys are members of, how do you say it? Diversity?
Mm-hmm. Baldwin Realtors Diversity Committee.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. All right. Tell me about that committee.
I'll let Evelyn speak on that. Evelyn actually serves as our chair on the committee. She tries, she's humble, but she runs the show. So we'll let her expand. Yes.
Okay. And let me just say this. I'm going to keep it really casual. But Stacey and Winfred ain't going to do this to me. I just want y'all to know. So on the diversity committee, we pretty much are focused on fair housing in our area. As a realtor, we pretty much pride ourselves on being good neighbors. And so we want our association to be a reflection of our community. We want our association to know what leadership looks like in different ethnic backgrounds. And we also want to educate future homeowners that are interested in buying that are not necessarily in the majority, that there's fair housing opportunities for all.
Now, does everybody that is a realtor in Baldwin County or Mobile, like you have to be, or is it optional to be a member of the Realtor Association?
So in Baldwin County, if your office is a member of the Baldwin Realtors Association, you have to join Baldwin Realtors Association as well, or you could put your office in violation.
Okay. Mm-hmm. So, but it's not mandatory. There are some people that can.
Yeah. So if they're not, then their office isn't. That means their office also doesn't have a membership with the board. But it would be a disservice to you not to be part of the board.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Because I wanted to talk some tonight too, about people who may be interested in going into realty. So tell me, how did you land here?
So I was actually doing property management, luxury property, vacation rental property management. And my boss came in one day and he's like, hey, just found out in order to properly negotiate terms of the rental agreement or to ratify the agreements, we have to have our real estate license. So we were operating, I guess you would say, illegally at the time, right? So, they just said, well, find a class. You guys sign up for a class and we'll pay for it. So they did, and we went to class and did everything we had to do. They paid for the classes, the testing, the licensing, and I probably stayed with that company a year after that before I decided to actually just shift gears and get into sales full time.
Look at God. Mm-hmm. Look at God. Listen, we always say God places us in every place
I had no idea.
For a reason. And so that became a major blessing for you. You had to pay for it.
Yeah.
You enjoy?
I love it.
I know, because I be seeing your picture on Facebook with them $1 million properties and stuff.
Hey, God is good.
Yeah. And you, how did you land in realty?
Are you talking to me? Yes. Shameless plug. As you guys know, my husband does LA Home Renovations, where he does drywall installation and decorative concrete. And I was at home doing his office work, and I was doing nonprofit. I was just, becoming a little social butterfly, trying to anyways. And I felt like in my 10-year vision, as I saw my family in the future, that this industry was going to pair well with what my husband was already doing. Like for our family goals, that if I was in this position, that it would help us in that position and going forward.
I can see that. How long have you been in realty now?
I'm still in my first year, so I'm under a year.
Okay. And then how about you, Stacy?
For me, it was more of a professional and personal career change. I had my daughter going off to college, and real estate has been something that has always been in the back of my mind, that I've thought about at different points in my life. And with having her, I felt like it was having her leave and go off to college. I felt like the space and time aligned correctly, where it was really my time to pursue what I wanted to do in life. And it speaks to my desire to be a voice and a help for my community, to hopefully to be able to open doors or educate people and let them know that it's possible. A lot of times we're afraid to ask questions or don't know who to ask. So I feel like I could be a good representation and, like Evelyn said, be a good neighbor, as the Baldwin Realtors mission is to be, and to help those in my community who are really seeking to own a home, and a lot of them for the first time. So
it's funny that you guys keep saying, that with the Baldwin County Realtor Association being a good neighbor is important. We had Barbara Peters here a few weeks ago, who is, she works with the Mobile County Chamber. And she said that when she moved here, she had, spent a lot of time and money in marketing. And then she realized that in this area, it's really not about marketing. It's about relationships.
Absolutely.
Very much so.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
So you guys agree? I can see that.
Yes.
Because I have people, people are always calling me and asking me if I know somebody that does this or that. And that's one of the questions that they'll ask. Well, do you know them? Or, are they on Facebook? Like, they want to see who you are. They want to see what you're doing. If you have how many, they want to know like what's your value. And that's just a natural question though. I think, and I don't know the answer, so I just direct. But I would like to get into some of the fair housing talks and those, I guess, questions that you're saying that people are afraid to ask, because I know during the pandemic is when we did see a lot of people start to, interest rates were low, and a lot of people were able to buy houses during that time. So, were you already in real estate?
I would just like to say the Fair Housing Act was enacted in 1968, and it was implemented so that minorities would actually have the right to fair housing. And so there are protected classes that falls up underneath that amendment, to make sure that, again, that fair housing is offered for all. So sometimes people may get fair housing and affordable housing switched. And so I just want to make sure that we distinguish between the two. Again, fair houses, to make sure that there's no discrimination that takes place.
Well, so where would that discrimination take place?
So it can take place, for instance, if somebody of minority was trying to apply for a loan and they weren't given a fair approval, so to speak. If they were discriminated against for, race, nationality, the other familiar status.
You don't want a bunch of neighbors,
disability.
Kids,
yes.
So they're a different nationality, and you don't want to smell whatever food they're cooking or whatever,
So
all
were
of that.
people in at the banks working with the communities to keep these loans from going through?
Well, years ago they would tell it, banks would have this huge map, and they would put a big red line, so they call it redlining. They would put a big red line around that area, that this is the area they're not going to loan you.
Oh,
so that was happening. So that's why these laws and stuff had to go into place to prevent that from happening.
Well, I learned something new today. And so then in 1968, you said came the fair housing.
Yes, and it was to piggyback on the civil rights from 1964 amendment. And so it was supposed to help rid some of those practices. Now, we have seen massive improvement, of course, since then. But there are still issues and things that, the public or the community needs to be educated on, that realtors have to be educated on and required to take certain continuing education classes to make sure that they are upholding the ethics of being a realtor and practicing real estate. So we've seen a lot of change and progress, but there are still things that go on, that pop up, that we need to make sure that we're continuing to make improvement on.
Like what? Like what still?
I'm going to use an example that came up. It was in the media a couple of years ago. I believe it happened in Georgia. There was a minority family that was looking at selling their home, a husband and wife. They were getting ready to put the home on the market, and they had the home appraised to determine the market value. They hired a company to come in and give the appraisal, and the house was undervalued by almost $200,000. So the family felt like that they had been discriminated against. So they took it upon themselves. They removed all of their personal items from their home.
I saw that.
They hired someone else to come in, and it appraised for the correct value as the rest of the houses in their neighborhood.
That is a fair
And
housing
so
violation.
that is a fair housing violation. They did sue the previous company. They did win their lawsuit. So that's just an example of something that still may be happening today or may happen today. That would be a fair housing violation.
Which is just the weirdest thing to me, because to me it's because you guys work on commission, correct?
Yes.
Correct.
So the more the house appraises for, the more you would get from the sale. So.
Right, but we're not the appraisers.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So you have someone else that is hired and licensed to go out and appraise the property. And basically the way the lending works, they're not going to loan you what the house doesn't appraise for. Or, when you're selling your house, oftentimes people like this couple did, they go and get an appraisal because they want to make sure they're going to get market value. They don't want, like Evelyn just said, they don't want to leave any money on the table. So this appraiser goes out and does that part. So of course we want to make sure we get you top dollar, not just for our commission, but we want to make sure you're getting what you deserve, what's due to you. But yeah, you have the appraiser that go out and they look at it and it's like, well, So I think that's where, like Evelyn said earlier, you have to go into these different classes and courses to train yourself and educate yourself on this so that you can sometimes, you have to call the appraiser and be like, look, this ain't right.
So educate yourself even when you're buying a house. I mean, because I remember when I went and bought my first car. When I went and bought my first car on my own, and I totally got it was horrible.
Oh yeah.
And when I got back home, I sold the car online. My truck online that I had just bought, the VIN number, everything. And it was like $5,000 less than what they had sold it for me to me at the lot. And so when I got home, Steve Davis, he was like, "You didn't do your homework." And I'm like, "What homework?" He said, "You didn't do. You have the internet. You didn't go online. You didn't do your homework." So even with realty, I take it you have to do your homework.
Yes and no. When you go to a car dealership to buy a car, the car salesperson is not. I'm not sure, maybe it's changed, but they're not licensed and they are working for a commission and they are working to get as much money as they can. A realtor is licensed and they're bound to be obedient to you. Your representation has a fiduciary duty to you. So you're like a team, and then your realtor is building up more team, like somebody to do your inspection, they're trying to make sure you're getting the best value or you're getting top value if you're the selling agent.
Exactly.
So yes, there's an amount of education that needs to be done, but there's also an amount of trust, because I see a lot of people that feel like maybe they don't trust, but they're really, you might have had an experience to make you not feel trustworthy, and I'm not invalidating your experience. However, your realtor is legally bound to you to be obedient, to be trustworthy, to handle your financials in the utmost respect. So it's a little bit different than a car dealership because there's a legal binding of a contractual, agreement.
But I don't know though, Evelyn, because as a consumer and as being a Black consumer, we are naturally just untrusting.
True.
When it comes to going we just naturally don't trust people. We're always looking. It doesn't matter if you're Black too. It doesn't matter what nationality or creed or religion you are. We are always looking. We're gonna have to make sure that you say you are. We're just naturally an untrusting community.
And it's funny. I just had this conversation with someone. I was like, I feel like being a Black realtor, I have to prove myself 10 times as hard, in the career altogether, but sometimes just as hard to my own people. It's like to get them to trust me and to want to provide, personal information, because not everyone wants to talk to me about their credit, their income, job. Some people, they want to hold on to that.
I will not buy a car over here.
Yeah, they're like, I don't want to give you my information, So, and I have to tell them, well, a lot of times that doesn't go to me. It actually goes to your lender, and then you connect them with this lender, and just white. Just give it freely, like nothing. It's just being truthful about it,
He's giving the real estate.
That's just the real side of it.
I believe it because I'm telling you, as a consumer, I know. It's like you have the one side of us who wants to support people in our community, realtors, cars, like anybody, and we want to support our community. But then you have the other side who we're just not trusting, and it could be somebody that's selling a dress. We want to make sure that dress is really supposed to be $60. I'm gonna go over here and see if I can find it somewhere else now.
That dress on Shein for 10, and now you trying to. So
like it just, and then we don't take it as that, like we don't take into consideration the fact that Shein can sell it for less expensive.
Right.
We begin to think things like, oh, they're trying to get over.
Right.
Not that they paid 4 times as much to get it. So they can't sell it for what Shein selling, which is naturally untrusting.
I think that goes back to what you originally said, where it goes back to networking and relationships.
Yeah.
And it speaks to the integrity of the person that you're dealing with. And as a consumer, we all have to vet, those who we're dealing with. And you could do that by checking everybody's social media profile. You can look them up on the Baldwin Realtors Association site. Look at their client reviews and testimonials. Talk to people that you've seen work with them before to determine if that's somebody you think you would be a great fit for. I'm a firm believer, not all energies match. Not every client is for me. It may be somebody that may be better fit for Evelyn or for Winford, and that is okay. So I say just do your due diligence, do your homework like we all have to do as consumers, but do understand and know, like Evelyn pointed out, like we're required as licensees to be uphold a certain ethic and integrity when we're operating and we're practicing real estate.
Okay. So now, I told y'all a little bit before we got here. I want to get into talking about property and the importance of property ownership, and how that can add to generational wealth. Most everybody that knows me, I inherited a lot of property when my parents passed away. And so I managed that property even before, even when they were here, I still managed those properties for them. I'm going to tell you, people come out the woodworks when somebody passes away.
Oh, yeah.
It like the next week, hey, let me know if you're going to be selling any. They don't care that you're grieving. They want to know if you're going to be selling your family's stuff the next day.
My condolences, bud.
Yeah, my condolences, bud.
When you put it on the market.
They are waiting. Understand me? They are waiting for you to miss one tax payment or something so that they can go and take that property from you. And this is in our own community, and not just in our community, because I know that happens. That happens in all communities.
That sit and watch the tax records because they want to see who's going to get behind on the taxes so that they can. So it's.
So how do they know? Number one, how do all of these realtors know that my parents passed away and that this property is now mine? Because I get letters in the mail. We understand so and so passed away and you're over this. But how do they know this stuff?
Everything in real estate is public records. It is public records. And I mean, there's even certain systems that we use in real estate when we're doing lead generation. It'll sometimes say may be deceased by the person's name. So you go to the next person, you're looking like I just said, it's public records. So you're going to look for that next person of kin that should have ownership or something. But it's public records. I tell people all the time, people are, cautious about sharing how much they pay for their property or anything like that. And I'm not saying this for somebody to go looking up folks' business, but I'm just saying it is public records. If you paid $275,000 for that house, it is in Baldwin County public records. How much your mortgage payment is also going to be in there if you got a mortgage, because all of that has to get uploaded. So all that information is in there. It shows you got a $275,000 mortgage, your payment, all that is more than likely it's going to be in the system. Again, just throwing it out there. It's not for someone just to be being nosy and saying, oh, I know how much they pay for the house. That's nobody's business, but it's public information. And it's definitely public information.
So everything is private except real estate.
Pretty much.
And I'm going to speak to maybe why some realtors do it. Since he pointed out that it is public record, especially in the market we're in today, there is a housing deficit. There is land scarcity. They're not building any more land. So what we have is what we have. Baldwin County, I just read an article today on Alabama.com where it says it's an investor's Mecca right now. And so there's a high demand for property, land within Baldwin County. And so they're looking for off-market properties. And so you may receive a letter, 2 or 3 or 10 from
phone call,
or a phone call, or a DM,
right?
Reaching out to people, trying to see if they are interested in selling, because like myself, I have buyers or investors who are interested in certain properties that are not for sale. And I reach out and I say, hey, are you interested? I have a buyer that's potentially interested in your property. And believe it or not, more times than not, they are interested.
Some people are
If
interested.
they ain't nowhere to buy, where they going? So it's just property that they have, but not the property.
Well, yeah, that's what
using.
you're speaking in reference of people who have like multiple properties.
Yes.
Like for you, for instance, you have multiple properties, so they know they're like, okay, she don't need this, so let me call her. Or
because I can see on the public records if you have a homestead exemption, if this is your primary residence or not.
That's what they make you do that homestead. Y'all just nosy.
I feel like we just are using the systems that are already out there, because I think I've been on Facebook maybe twice saying, hey, if you live in Twin Beach Estates or if you live in Woodlawn and you want to sell, and maybe people were like, ha ha ha, but no, I was dead serious. We had buyers who want a house in these neighborhoods. If you don't see very many for sale signs in your neighborhood, and you bought your house 7-8 years ago, you need to think about it. And I'm not trying to convince you to sell, but because where are you going to go? I want you to make an educated decision. But people that are calling you are real people. They're not bots or anything. Like, it's literally the market we're in.
So let's get into it. This is going to be the hottest part of the show right here. So if you were thinking about going somewhere, don't. Once again, this episode is sponsored by Brianna Scott of Olivia B's Beauty Bar. Okay, selling. Why do Black people think it is illegal and a sin to sell your own property? They don't care if you got 10 million acres. They will look at you like you have lost your complete mind if you sell 1 acre of it. Why? Please explain. Somebody.
I'm going to start off and say it's mindset. And I think it also can be a generational thing as well that's operating at the same time. I think they're looking at the history maybe of what some of their parents or grandparents went through to acquire land and what it meant back then to own something. And so to see grandkids or great grandkids, it probably pulls at their heartstrings to see something that's sentimental value to them may not be sentimental value to the granddaughter or the grandson or what have you, but what they're not realizing is they left a legacy for their grandchild or granddaughter or whoever. And that person can now take it and elevate it to another level. And so they're not looking at the bigger picture. You want the next generation that's coming behind you to do better than what you did. And so it's okay to expand and do something different, for your family and their future. And so I think we just kind of have to explain it to them in that way if you feel the need to.
We're going to explain it today.
If you feel the need to, just so that they can see the bigger vision that you have.
People come up to me in the grocery store. One of my properties has a for sale sign on it right now. And I have had so many people, they'll call me. Do you not mind if I ask you how much? Not at all. It's for sale. Please ask me how much it's going to sell for. But it's the gall that comes behind it. Now, mind you, this same property, I'll tell you, my dad purchased this property for $25,000 years and years and years ago. And when he was still alive, he had actually put a for sale sign in the yard and was going to sell it for $44,000. Okay. Now, since then, I actually begged him not to sell it at that point. And so he did not sell it. Well, it's now a piece of commercial property, right? Now, this property went from being purchased for $25,000 to being on the market for over $200,000. And this person looked me in my face and pretty much called me a fool and said they didn't care. If their parents left them something, they ain't never going to sell none of it. I don't care who come. I'm like, kudos to you.
Right.
With you and your property. But who are you to come and tell me what to do with my property?
Yeah.
But here's the thing that aggravates me the most is we'll have this property and just let it. And I know I had a meltdown with you a couple weeks ago because I don't like to see something that's not being used. I don't understand having acres and acres and acres of property. Like, at least if you're going to turn it into farmland or do something, but to just have this property and then it grows up and you don't ever do anything with it except keep passing it and passing it and passing it down. I promise most times it ends up in the hands of multiple people or taxes don't get paid on it. So it seems to me like you would do better off when it got to the right hands to sell it and do like for meaningful use with that. But why just have this property that's just sitting there and you're doing nothing with it?
Well, I think some people kept property like that for leverage. There's so many different, the equity in it.
Yeah.
You could cash out, get the equity, send kids to college. You could, there were so many different things, which is why a lot of people just held on to their land. And, I piggyback off stuff, some of the things that Stacy said earlier is, some people just feel like, well, oh God, our grandparents worked so hard, or our great grandparents, this has been the family for 8 generations. And, it's like, we don't want to sell it. We just want to keep it. And I get what you're saying. They're not doing nothing with it. That's why I always say to each their own. You want to sell it, sell it. Because I get it. It was just sitting up and nobody's doing nothing with it. But then some people just feel like it don't matter. Just keep it.
Because at what point does it? At what point does something? Yeah. How is it benefit anybody just sitting there to say this is our family's? Nobody's living on it. No, like it's just sitting there. What I'm trying to figure out how that benefits anyone.
The only thing that I could think of would be to piggyback. We just said piggyback about 50 times, but to agree with Winford as far equity, wealth, and equity. What we keep saying, generational wealth and equity, which is in real estate. It's the equity, it's the amount, it's the worth of it. So if you feel that you need to get that worth out of it, then that is what it is for.
Because there's always, so if you want,
there's
always going to be more equity, right? It's always going to continue to increase in value. It's property, right? It always goes up.
99.9999% of the time.
Nobody wanted to say. We're like, don't nobody call us tomorrow and say, well, I had to go down.
Right. I mean, the market is ever shifting. The market is ever shifting, and it may be this way this month and 2-3 months down the line. Things as we saw. I mean, when we started off, you talk about 2021. Look how, interest rates were extremely low. You could purchase a brand new home for $200,000, $190,000. Well, we see now they're $300,000. So the market has shifted just that fast. So it's ever shifting. So you never can, say, because, we just saw something. It can happen where you're selling this house for $250,000 a day, but these people down the road, they just need to get out. So they're like, all right, well, you can give me 200 and I'm gonna sell it. So now the comps are off balance. Mm-hmm. So you're trying to figure out that sweet spot because this buyer's coming along. They're like, well, they bought it for $200,000. So it's ever changing. Definitely that.
So you definitely want to get with somebody that's going to do their due diligence, like you said, to make sure they're doing. Talk to them about comps, what those are.
Comps are comparable properties to the one the actual host property or the subject property is the word I was searching for. Thank you, Winfred. Just say we were selling a house at 123 Main Street and it was 4 bedrooms, 2.5 bath, and it was 2,500 square foot and it was built in 2010. A comparable property would be built around the same time, same bed and bath, same exterior material, roof life, similar. Now, if you can't find any that are similar to that, you can adjust a little bit, but these are comparables, and this will be an estimate. An appraisal will be a pinpoint amount. A comp is going to give you a range, a pretty safe, a pretty close. I'm not going to go to 99.9, but we might be at like 90% kind of, this is, and it's going to be backed up by tangible evidence. So your realtor is going to come to you with, that public information of what it sold for, how many days on market, how did it affect it, the price that it was it priced at this and it had to do a reduction and it was on the market this long, which, and it might have something to do with the price. Because 3 things, pretty much lead a real estate deal: the location, the price, and the condition. And so you can change the condition, and you could change the price, but you can't change the location. So that's going to be pretty much getting the comps and getting your pricing together.
So let's give somebody some really, really good information here. Let's talk about the importance of inheriting something and having an appraisal when somebody passes away. Anybody want to talk on
that? Okay, in this field, we are ever learning. Mm-hmm. And I will say we were at a meeting, it wasn't May, it was in April. Mm-hmm. And Stacy brought up something that I absolutely did not know anything about, because the business is always growing. I don't know everything. And I mean, I would like to know a lot of things, but I don't know everything. And so she gave me some information, and I said that to say this. Rest in peace, Grandpa Johnny. I said that to say this. When you buy a piece of property, or when you're passing down property and you bought it at your relative bought it at a very low price, and equity in the market has changed, and now it's worth over $250,000 more. There, you get into different type of taxes, inheritance taxes. And so I'm not an expert on the field, but I would recommend, if you were looking to pass property down, to look into speaking with someone about creating a trust, or seeing how you can handle inheritance taxes and things like that, because Trish is right. If if somebody is passing you down a piece of property that they bought in a very, very, very different market, that could cause a lot of different, things to happen throughout the sale.
So especially if you don't know real estate. I mean, if you're educated on yourself, you definitely need to get with a professional or a state attorney or someone to go through all of these things and talk about, like she said, the different taxes that come along with owning that property, and even the upkeep. People have properties that are in certain communities, and you're like, you just inherited this land in this community that was never developed, but there's a HOA that says you still got to keep the grass cut. And we were like, oh, I didn't know that. So now you stacked up all these fines. They've placed a lien on the property because there's a lot to it.
It's a lot.
It's a lot to real estate.
So when my parents passed away, and mind you, I had to do this 2 times back to back, which was the weirdest thing. But so my estate attorney, he made me, I ain't gonna say recommended, he made me go and get each one of the properties appraised, which is very expensive. If you leave somebody something,
but I think it's very beneficial.
Yeah, it is. If you leave somebody something, leave it to somebody. Either leave them some money to take care of that business, or leave it to somebody who has the money to take care of that business. I'm just going to be real. Because I had to get appraisals done, and some of the properties had to have what we call surveys, so that if I did ever go to sell it, it's not going to be, it would now be based on what the property was valued at the time of their death, instead of being valued at what they bought it at 30 years ago. So now I wouldn't have to pay all these capital gain taxes. So I had to have these appraisals done. And then Evelyn, I talk about all the time when it comes to leaving, it's done in good faith, when we leave people things. But I can't tell you how many patients I have. Most even I'm a mental health provider. I can't tell you how many patients I have who come in who are just in dire stress because they inherited these properties that they can't afford to upkeep.
Yeah, it's overwhelming.
It's overwhelming, especially when it's an older property. I had a plumbing issue the other day, and I almost lost my mind over a plumbing issue. But you got these roofing issues and plumbing issues, and the upkeep of, I probably have, if I were to pay somebody to cut the grass at all the properties, I would be spending well over $2,000 a month to pay somebody else. How are you going to pay somebody that every month just to cut the grass? So what happens is, it starts to grow up. My dad, that's what he did. He cut grass every day. And so I get sad sometimes when I come out my house and my yard doesn't look like it did when my daddy was there. Because it was so beautiful, so manicured, everything, like orange trees and grapevines, everything, everywhere. And so all of that can be emotionally like just overwhelming, but people don't know that. So all I'm saying is don't make people feel bad because people do. I'm speaking for myself personally. People try their best to make me feel horrible anytime I say anything about selling anything that belongs to me. Because that's who it belongs to.
Right.
You know, yeah, it's not my father's property anymore. It's not my mother's property anymore. It belongs to me. And I am not a sellout, because I decide to sell some property and I'm a Black homeowner. It's my property. I can sell it if I want to. And I can keep it if I want to or do whatever I want. And that's for anybody else out there. Because, Facebook will blow up at certain times when they have, everybody come to having a community meeting because so-and-so is trying to build this and they're trying to make you sell. Don't sell, don't sell, don't sell.
Well, I feel like you have to let people do what's best for them.
Absolutely.
And oftentimes we look over that, we're like, oh, you shouldn't sell or you shouldn't do this. Well, people have to do what's best for them. That's even when you're dealing with a client. This client, they may own this house. They're paying a monthly payment, but they get to the point where they can't afford it. Yeah, and you're like, oh, you need to sell your house. No.
Almost $3,000 a year in taxes. So I'm almost at $30,000 now. And just paying taxes. Yeah. You see what I'm saying?
And people don't understand the full picture of what you're dealing with. They're just looking at the property, just looking at the land and the fact that you may have a for sale sign in the yard. They don't know your story. It's up to you on whether you feel the need to explain it to them or not. I don't feel like you have to. That's my personal belief.
Yeah, because I know there's somebody else that has to be like, you're never the only person, so somebody else is out there in this community who wants to move, who wants to do something. Like personally, I don't even want to be in Alabama, period. If I'm being totally honest, I would be in Houston tomorrow. I've said that before. And the reason I'm still here is because of like, sometimes I actually feel like my parents are still parenting me and telling me what to do, even though they're not here because I'm staying in this house. Hey, sweet, what you doing here?
So you guys, I think, and this is to do with real estate now because we're talking about real estate, but with a lot of things, I think that we need to prepare ourselves. There's a topic that we do not like to breach, and we're like a cup that's already full, and you can't pour any more into it. But it's preparing for it's the end of life.
Because it happens.
Yes, and all these things that we're discussing, it's up to you what you do with your inheritance or what you plan to do with your legacy for your own children. But it's important that we, start these conversations. And then I want to go back to talking.
You feel like it's appropriate because I've asked my children, is it appropriate to ask your children, if something happens to me, would you want this house?
I think it's
absolutely. Some people do. Y'all don't understand. Some people don't even want it.
Yeah, I
think, like Evelyn said, it's a hard conversation to have because who wants to like, oh, my mom's gonna pass, or my dad's gonna pass. I mean, it's something that has to happen. I mean, even you, because we know death comes at all ages. It has no one thing about it. It ain't prejudice. It ain't racist. It comes to anybody. So, but I think that is a conversation you have to have, and I think people need to. They're afraid to, but they need to seek legal advice.
Absolutely.
While you're well.
While you are well, get with an attorney, someone to help you plan out what will happen in the end. Especially when you have more than one child, because it can get very hectic. It can be crazy. Now these people are sitting here trying to figure out how much percentage they own of this asset, how much this one own. You can't do nothing unless I sign it. While I'm selling it, while I'm living in the house, because Big Mama told me I could. There's so much going on, and we do not. We we need
It
to
needs
start
to be-
seeking legal counsel about
Yeah,
that type
it
of
needs
stuff.
to be in
We
black
really
and
do.
white. I
really
say it
do.
all the time, black and white. Get it on paper.
We really do.
Mhm.
Absolutely.
You
And
know?
Winfred was talking about how sometimes you have all these properties and you can't keep it up, and then you end up
Mhm.
in a position where you feel like you have to either sell it or lose it.
Mhm.
And so I was thinking about Stacy, and this isn't just in our community. Over in Baldwin County, where we are, you guys know there used to be so much more, but there's still so much farmland. And there's so much land, and we always say, oh, I love the country, I want it to stay like this. Okay, but if my children don't want to run the farm,
Right.
what am I to do? Should I just lose it, or what should I do? And so most often they sell to someone to get the highest dollar out of it. Would that not make sense if it was yours?
Mhm.
And so a lot of people look they frown
Say it.
upon development because and people have don't sell that many houses in, but I'm gonna be honest with you, I haven't built the first house.
Okay.
I didn't have the land to sell. I have someone that needs a home, and this is a house that's right here. So I'm showing it to them and letting them make their own decision. Now, what I will say is I know that we're talking about diversity, but Winfred and Stacy also own affordable housing. And I think it's more, they would more like to call it attainable, because affordable in different communities is a different amount.
Mhm.
But if we wanted to see something change, then maybe we would develop something and get something in a better price
Now
point,
you're
instead
talking.
of coming and saying the system is you're breaking the system, you're feeding into that system. Well, how do we change this system? Because they have a lot of property. They're running down, the property's running down. They're not farming anymore. They're gonna sell it to somebody, or they're gonna lose it.
Yes, I actually had a conversation today with someone who didn't even realize they had lost their family land. And it was purchased by somebody from out of state. So it was a very sad conversation, but also too in that conversation we were talking. Uh-oh.
Sorry, go ahead.
Also in that conversation, we were talking about affordable housing, especially in Baldwin County, and what that means. And to a lot of people who are born and raised in Baldwin County, it's mind-boggling that you could be born and raised there, but priced out of your hometown.
Yep.
Mhm.
And so that's my reasoning for joining the Affordable Housing Committee with Winfred. Is because we're working on trying to come up with solutions for the community that can be offered to help assist those in the community to be able to purchase where you've grown up all your life. Provide additional resources where there is subsidized grants, federal and a state level, and just different things like that. So it is sad if someone does lose their family land or you're not able to hold on to it. But also too, let's start turning the conversation
Absolutely.
to solution based.
Absolutely.
And what we can bring to the conversation by just being in the room. You have the three of us sitting up here that's representing or being a representative of the community. If you have questions, if you have things that you're not sure about, reach out to one of us on the panel that can help and assist, that I know are operating from a sense of integrity and care about the community that they grew up in and that they know. So I just wanted to just follow up with that, what she was talking about with affordable housing, what we're trying to do on the Affordable Housing Committee, and where we are as far as affordable housing in Baldwin County. As we all know, there's a lack there of it. We deal with
Very
clients all the
much.
time. They get approved, but they get approved and there's no houses in that price range in Baldwin County for them to purchase.
Mhm.
And so then that becomes a whole different conversation. So like she said, affordable housing, it depends on who you're talking to.
It does.
Someone who lives in California and they'll come down here and pay cash for a house because
For
they're like,
$400,000 house.
like it's
Because that's
nothing.
affordable to them.
So that's
you know?
affordable.
But for us, a medium income of $50,000 in Baldwin County, what can that afford you? That's two totally different conversations.
So that was a lot tonight, y'all. what we do want you to know is that you do have realtors and members of groups called the diversity committees, and then you have fair housing laws and affordable housing and all these terms that a lot of us don't know about. We've talked to you about appraisals. We've talked to you about surveys. We've talked to you about minding your business when somebody want to sell their property because you don't know why they want to sell their property and it's theirs to sell. But there's a lot. We definitely want you to sit down and have a conversation with your children I definitely want you to do that when you leave them these properties. You know, we would hope that by the time our parents do pass away, that we already have our own things, our own houses. We may live away, and we may not want to come back down here to live in that home, or we may not want to even rent that property that's down there. It may be too much for us to manage. So there's a lot that goes into even leaving somebody something that you worked so hard for. What we don't want is for what you worked so hard for to be lost. And given back to the government because somebody couldn't afford, or it, getting dilapidated or whatever, like falling apart. And then, because a lot of times that's what happens. Yeah. They get to the point to where they can't fix it, they can't afford to repair it, so they just move out of it, and then they just leave it there. They can't sell it, and then somebody will sit there and wait until they don't pay the taxes or it falls apart, and then somebody will come and take it from them or trick them into selling it to them for nothing.
You leave money on the table because you've let it got so far gone that now they ain't gonna pay you what you could have gotten for it. So I always say just seek the professional advice. You got people out here that's telling you this and that about buying houses, and they haven't bought the first house.
So you can't take constructive criticism from somebody who ain't never constructed.
I have never bought a house before.
What?
I've never had to.
Blessing.
Yes.
Well, don't be giving these people no advice.
No, my advice was
just want to send them to us. That's your advice, so we can educate them correctly.
Yeah.
But no, it was at one point in time. There's a lot of people telling me, "Oh, don't buy a house right now. Interest rate doing this and this and that." You have to do what's best for you.
You got to do what's best.
You can't go be listening. And them same people was giving them that advice had never bought a house, or they were buying a house and trying to push them down and keep them under them. So you can't go by what everybody else is doing and what they're saying.
I just wanted to address. We covered a lot of subjects, but we did not cover first-time home buyers.
Yeah.
So if you are a first-time home buyer, please reach out to an agent.
Absolutely.
We're sitting up here. Schedule a home buyer's consultation, do an over the phone consult. That way that you can get a one-on-one steps on what it takes to actually own a home. It is possible. Yes, I tell my clients all the time, you may have to do a little homework, but it is possible. So reach out to any one of us or someone that's trusted in the community that can help you reach your ultimate goal to home ownership.
Absolutely. Don't let fear hold you back.
Please don't.
All right, y'all. So listen, we got to give away some makeup real quick. Help the sister out. Tina Turn is coming up on June 17th at Daphne Civic Center. If you got a friend that needs to be on the live right now because they need to get their makeup done. Again, this episode was sponsored by Brianna of Olivia Bees, and we want to give away some tickets. And I'm trying to figure out we want to give away some tickets too. So I'm gonna I'm looking on here. I need you to put your name or something in the comment section if you already have a ticket. Let's start there. If you already have a ticket to the Women's Derby Tea and Fashion Show, let me know that you already have a ticket, and then you might get your makeup done at the tea. But you got to be on here and listen.
Because I'm messing up the flow. I'm commenting on. I'm like.
So while we're waiting, I'm gonna give y'all just a minute to get your people on here, or we're gonna have to figure out a different way to do that because we're gonna give away this makeup. We're going to give away these tickets. But I also want to tell you about a trip that's coming up that I think is the coolest thing. So while y'all are loading up the comment section, Tech's going to put this next flyer on the screen. Anitra Giroux and WeClick, they are sponsoring a bus trip to the Essence Festival. So for a $20 deposit and $50 per person, they're going to put you on the bus and take you to the Essence Festival. You hang out at the Essence Festival all day, have a good time on the bus, and then they will bring you back that evening. So you don't have to worry about driving. You don't have to worry about those expenses. Y'all ever been to Essence Festival?
Never been.
Maybe it's a grip to stay at those hotels during the Essence.
Do we need to get on the bus?
We might need
Right.
to.
Yeah.
I was gonna wait till it was over.
You're not. You just earned yourself a ticket to the camera. So, we click hashtag WC Wellness. We click wellness. And you can text 251-550-2585 for more information on Mobile to New Orleans or Mob to New Orleans Weed Fest. And they are going to take you to the Essence Festival and then bring you back. That's a good deal right there. So $50, that's a great deal. Y'all jump on that. All right, so let's get back to this comment section and let's see if there's anybody I can give some makeup on here. Long time ago, years ago, Lavette, excellent conversation. Gina's house, great knowledge. Yeah. 130. It's gonna be some people upset that they did not get on here today and get this makeup or these free tickets. So I guess I'm gonna have to go log up again because we gotta start. Can everybody wish DJ Tech happy birthday?
Happy birthday!
Yeah, so you're not gonna say hi. You can't get on the camera and say, "Hey, happy birthday," and nothing. He's so shy.
Thank y'all.
You said thank y'all. So it's DJ Tech's birthday, and as usual, we got Fred. Fred, you wanna come say hi? Fred don't be want to say hi either.
He's working.
He's working. Fred's
Blessed be the name
Kitchen.
of Jesus.
Fred's Kitchen will also be catering for the tea on June 17th at Daphne Civic Center. If you're going, Sharice said, "Happy birthday, DJ Tech." So yeah, we getting ready to eat good, as you probably can tell. We threw you a party. He got thrown a surprise birthday party. He ain't even know that.
Hey, I questioned the cake earlier, remember?
I know. And forgive me for lying. I don't think you told
As
more
soon
lies.
as it came out my mouth, I was
Got me
like,
partaking in the lie.
I wish I could have sucked it back in.
Forgive me, Lord.
Listen, thank y'all for joining us tonight. Y'all want to tell everybody where to find you before we close it out?
You can find me at Stacey Gibbs Realty on IG.
You can find me on Instagram, Facebook, anywhere. You can Google me, Evelyn Hall Realtor.
Google me. I love it.
I keep track of all those little thingies.
I have to agree with Evelyn. You can Google me, and it will pull up all of my social accounts. Winfrey McGaster, Realtor with Exit Realty Gulf Shores, or I can reach 251-979-8832. So feel free to text or call me. I would love to set up a consultation with you and talk about the ins and outs of home ownerships, whether buying, selling, or investing.
And thank you, Trish, for having us.
Y'all
thank you so much.
So welcome. Lee Henderson, are you still there? Lee, if you there, you got to say something. Lee Henderson.
Where you at, Lee?
Where you at, Lee?
Lee.
Marquetta
Henderson. When somebody tag Lee Henderson and tell her she
there she go.
India tagged.
India tagged her. Erica Deakins tickets. Erica Deakins. I think you just won you some tea tickets, baby.
Uh-oh.
You get a ticket to the Health Assistant Out Tea Turn event, and you also get a $25 coupon that you can give to a friend, and they will get that discount. So that makes it $50 for 2 tickets. So in essence, y'all could split that and pay $25 a piece, and both of y'all can come on to the team. So congratulations to Erica. Go hit the button. Congratulations. Just hit any one of them. Like it's cut off. Cut down. I'm trying to give y'all some celebration.
There we go.
We having technical difficulty tonight. Anyway, congratulations to Erica Deakins for winning a tea ticket and a $25 coupon. And then no first name. Lavette Watson What do you mean? Well, I don't know what you mean. No first name. Lee Henderson. I don't know. Somebody call Lee and tell her she is getting her makeup done.
I think it might have supposed to say it, not the first name.
Yeah, I called Lee by her first name, Marquetta. That's what
I think somebody said not the
call
first
Lee and
name.
tell Lee she's getting her makeup done. Congratulations, Lee Henderson. I know you're going to be
Lee.
at T.
Yeah.
So we are going to bless you with some Brianna B makeup for the tea. All right. All hearts and minds are clear.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, church.
Go ahead. Pray us on out.
Not you to
Go ahead.
God, we just want to come right now, God, and we just tell you thank you, God. I thank you for this opportunity, God. I thank you for yet another day to be here and to just worship you and lift you up. I thank you for this amazing panel. I thank you for allowing us and giving us the wisdom and knowledge and understanding to be able to put out to your people, God. And I am thankful that many of them will take this information, hold to it, and they will be homeowners, and they will do what needs to be done as it pertains to home ownership and land ownership, God. And again, we just thank you for the opportunity to be here. We thank you for Trish allowing us to join her on this journey. And God, I pray many blessings upon her journey. I ask that you would continue to increase her as she reaches the masses, the nations, oh God. And we thank you for DJ Tech, and we thank you for blessing him with another year of life, God. And we ask that you continue to pour into him and bless him, God. And I pray right now that you touch everyone under the sound of my voice, God, and whatever their need or desire may be, God, that you would grant it. And God, it's the most precious name of Jesus that we do ask and pray, and we consider it already done.
Yes.
Amen.
Amen.
Right
at prayer.
Reverend Winfred.
Fred cannot leave without saying
Bishop.
hi.
God is good.
We got some good food. Y'all say hi to Fred.
Hey.
Say hey, Fred. This is Fred of Fred's Kitchen that's standing right behind me. Catch you on Fred's Kitchen on Facebook. What's your IG?
Fred's Kitchen 251.
Fred's Kitchen 251 on IG. Just go look at the pictures.
Good.
Just look at the pictures.
Smell
Like
real
the,
good.
and
Look at the shift of the atmosphere.
Okay. One more thing before I go. I promised Danielle that I was gonna show her, not you, other Danielle, I was gonna show her work too. Pass me that little box over there on the table, please. Thank you, Fred.
Thank you.
And then we're gonna let y'all go. So if anybody is looking,
It's a little heavy. Go from the bottom.
Y'all be coming. We're just gonna show y'all. Oh, it is pretty. Please don't drive.
Oh,
it.
excellent.
Oh, wow.
Come on now.
Show out. Happy birthday.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday. Happy birthday to you. Because today is your birthday. Because today is your birthday.
Okay.
Oh, wow.
I gotta wait and see if it show up on the camera.
One time for the cake.
One time for the cake.
Yes.
Hey, one time for the cake. Hey, there
Chocolate
we go.
covered
Is that chocolate covered
frogs.
frogs? That's what I was about to say. Name drop chocolate covered frogs.
Chocolate covered frogs on Facebook. I think
Let's
it's
see.
on Instagram. Is it also chocolate covered
I
frogs?
believe so.
Yeah.
Let's see.
Listen, it's not just gonna look good, it's gonna taste good. So chocolate covered frogs. She lives in Foley, but she will travel and deliver for a fee. Holla at my girl. Thank y'all. We love y'all. God bless y'all. Happy birthday, Tech. Don't cut it off. Push it back a little bit. Happy birthday.
She did a great job.
And it's huge.
Oh.
This supposed to only, I don't know how this could only feed 10 people because this is huge. Chocolate covered frogs, y'all.
I don't think you Jamaican vibes.
We still got to stay on here?
Oh,
Oh, here we go. Cut it off. Bye, y'all.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Chocolate covered frogs.